Listen to this episode if you feel like you're always doing all of the things, but none of them are really working better than the next. I hear this from my clients all the time. You get to this certain point and then you plateau, or, you're kind of just trying everything. You're doing Instagram, you're doing influencers, you're trying to do wholesale, but that's not working. So then you launch a new product and that's not really working. And a lot of times people kind of disguise it as like grit or scrappiness, but it honestly ends up actually dampening your overall business growth. I like to call this shiny object syndrome. It is kind of what the tactical definition of that might be in a business sense. And so today I really want to talk about this with you. If you're juggling a million things and none of them are really clicking, and honestly, it makes sense. Like truly, there are so many things being thrown at you all day long. Like this internet, the social media, the business world, podcasts, books, whatever it might be, they're throwing so many different things at you. Try Instagram Reels. Oh, don't do Reels, do carousels are now working. You have to have the trending audio, but don't be afraid. You have to try wholesale. Wholesale is where you get bigger orders. So then you should go on Faire, go on Etsy. That's where people are finding you. And then, hey, you can hand make something. Maybe you should launch this. Maybe you should launch that. Don't be afraid to have your own website, but your website has to have all of these other apps on it. And then, do influencer marketing. That's the big thing right now. Hey, did you see these collaborations? You need to be doing collaborations. And at the end of the day, there are a million options in business. And I say this all of the time. There are so many different routes that people are successful. And when we see it kind of just like individually all of the time, it seems like we have to do a million different things in order to even be successful. But at the end of the day, we really need more directed strategic action. So today I want to talk about why this is happening, what shiny object syndrome really is, and what it's costing you. And then really, how do we shift to actually gain momentum and growth through having kind of this style of brain. And I just want to put a total disclaimer out there. Some of people just operate this way. Whether you kind of are feeling like you are just multi-passionate and you want to try a bunch of different things, maybe you're diagnosed with ADHD, this is how people's brains sometimes work, is that they get to a certain point, they kind of get bored and then they need to move on. And for some people, ADHD is an absolute superpower in business. Now, I'm not saying everybody that feels this way has ADHD, but it is kind of a similar piece. And I honestly only say that because I had a lot of conversations this week with clients and prospective clients and people in my DMs talking about this idea. And they all were like, I'm squirrel brained, it's my ADHD. And there's definitely an element to that, but there is an element to a business owner also just really loving the build and the grind. And something that's really exciting about that is starting fresh and starting over. So I really want to dive into this today. Before I do, just want to take 10 quick seconds to say hello. My name is Madison Paige. I am a business growth specialist. I help people turn their small business into a brand that stands out, sells out, and reaches all of the big potential that I know that they can achieve. This is what we're talking about today, is shiny object syndrome and how it actually gets in the way of your overall business growth. So first things first, what is shiny object syndrome? The idea of what I'm talking about today through the lens of business, shiny object syndrome is basically the idea that we constantly kind of want something new. It's like, okay, we're so enthralled in something and then something is shiny over there and we're like, oh, I actually want to do that instead. Oh, I want to do that instead. And then you kind of just get misdirected into a different avenue. So how this works in business, so there's a lot of different aspects of this. You can have this in your personal life of when you're really enthralled in this trend and then something's new coming and you move over there. However, in business, this is kind of where you are trying on social media and then all of a sudden somebody says that you should be on a different platform and then you all of a sudden just kind of up and leave this and you go ahead and you go over there. It's basically like you have 482 things on your plate started, but you haven't mastered any of them, you haven't completed any of them, and you're actually not able to fully commit yourself to anything. So when I say shiny object syndrome today, what I'm really talking about is the idea of you starting projects that you never master and never finish before starting something else. Basically meaning you're kind of like strategy hopping or like framework hopping, doing different things, as opposed to getting very narrow and deep and intentional with one strategy that you know is really going to work with a lot of different clarity. So what this is really called is, like I've already said, it is strategy hopping. It's basically you're tempted by the new fun ideas every time something gets hard. So you're on social media, you've been posting consistently for 6 weeks, and then all of a sudden somebody tells you, hey, have you seen this new platform called, M2, which is coming out in September, supposedly, which is a replacement of TikTok in the US. Let me just go pop over there and I'm going to try over there. And then you post there for 6 weeks, nothing really happens. So then you're like, all right, I'll come back to Instagram, post there for 3 weeks. Why don't I try influencer marketing? Or, hey, I tried to do wholesale and my first 5 pitches, people said no. So I'm just going to take that as a no and I'm going to move on and try something else. It's like you never actually have you seen that image where people are like chipping away and the diamonds are right there, but all they're doing is finding, more and more dirt, but they end before they actually get to the diamonds. They end before they actually get to that end goal. It's exactly what you're doing. And so, when we hear all of this noise, post more, do more reels, use AI, run ads, try wholesale, it can become paralyzing to people because you don't really know what to do. And so it can create this kind of chaos where you actually feel like you have so much to do and there's so much on your list. So you end up doing everything at like 30% capacity, 30% efficacy, and you have 0% mastered, and you really don't know where to go next. This is just a dopamine cycle, and it becomes toxic because the building feels less risky because it's new. It doesn't mean that you failed yet. It's like, okay, maybe this will be something that finally works for me. Maybe this will be the thing that blows up. Maybe this will be the thing that takes off. Maybe this will be the thing that I can just finally commit to and see the results from. This is just such a myth because business does compound with the right actions over time. This is because what we have seen in all of these different narratives is people blowing up in 3 weeks, people blowing up overnight. This person started a profile and they went viral on their first reel and they got 10 million views and they have 12,000 followers. And so maybe I just need to start a new profile and start there. That's what's working for everybody else. You're constantly seeing things work for other people. You're constantly hearing people say, this is something that I need to do. And so then you go and you chase it. We equate new to better or new to fun, new to maybe this is something that we can do, but it's because it feels less risky because, you've been trying this thing, but you've technically in your own mind have failed at it because you've only done it for, whether it's been 6 weeks, 6 months, whatever, you've technically failed at it. So let me try something new before I can really ever figure out how to fix the first thing that I was not able to yet get to that point, to yet kind of master in that short period of time that you're really thinking about it. What you're really doing when you do this would be the equivalent of you picking up a book, getting to the point where there's just like character development, kind of that boring little middle piece, and then you putting that book down and starting a new book over. You never get the end of that story. You never get the satisfaction of figuring out what happens. You never get the like crux of that book. You never get the juice of what could actually come from that book because you just keep starting over and over again. So then you have all of these quarter finished books all over your house. This is what I really want to dive into today. I want to talk about the cost of this, what you actually need to do, and what you can do next. This actually was submitted by somebody in our free podcast community, the Small Business Cafe. Every one of our Friday episodes is a Friday coaching sessions episode where one of you that is an avid podcast listener actually submits a question. This was submitted by them. Say, hi, Maddie, love you and your podcast. Love you as well. I feel like I have constant squirrel brain. I have 72 tabs open on my computer at all times. I've tried everything under the sun. I have 3 businesses going on. None of them are performing better than the next. I just feel like I can never actually finish something before starting something else. What do I do? How do I know what to prioritize? And how do I know what to kick out of this list? Such a good question. I put the name shiny object syndrome to it. And I really think that that's really what it is at the end of the day, when we call it this squirrel brain, it's like, it's like your dog, my sweet little dog who's always in my videos. He is outside and then all of a sudden a squirrel pops up and he's like, squirrel, I want that. And then somebody says, hey, do you want to eat something? And he's like, yeah, it comes over. Yes, that's what I want. They're never actually fully committed to exactly what they're doing because something new and fun pops back up. And it's exactly what you are doing here. So the cost of really doing this is that you never really finish or master one thing. Growth does require repetition, data, consistency, not just reinvention all of the time. We have to be able to really do something long enough to be able to tweak it, to be able to refine it, to be able to look at the data and see how we can improve it. Everything works if you do it correctly and for long enough. Absolutely. People blow up on social media. Yes, we absolutely can do that. People blow up with wholesale where they get into all of these stores. Yes, we can do that. People blow up with influencer marketing. Yes, we can do that. There are so many things you could do, but it depends on what you should do and how you actually execute them and how long you really do try. Momentum, a lot of times, is actually earned from the same repetition over and over and over again. Your growth compounds. So if you are constantly trying something for 6 weeks, 6 months, whatever, and then just jump into the next thing, whether it's starting a new business or, starting a different strategy, you're trying to change your overall objectives, you are just always bouncing around. What you have to do is you have to really identify what is the priority for you and how can we get really, really good at something instead. Growth is slower than all of us would like to admit. And I think social media has done us such a disservice in this because we see all of this where people were saying that they blew up in 6 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever, that we think that we'll just be able to do exactly what that person is doing. And all of a sudden, that like if we don't achieve the same results that they achieved in the short period of time, we're failing and we need to try something new. It's really much more about the refinement. It's about compounding the right action. And some of those people got lucky. Some of those people are outliers. So we can't expect to get the same results as everybody else out there because there's different situations in every single piece. So I actually have had so many clients come to me with this, where they come to me and they say, Maddie, I have a million business ideas. Maddie, I want to do this. I want to reach out to these people. I want to start collaborations. I want to do a brick and mortar. I want to do all of these pieces. And I start to say, hey, like we're really trying to build here in a lot of different structures. And we're really trying to build here in a lot of different ways. And what we have to do is we actually have to look at what your goal is. How are you trying to get there? And actually just put in the strategy in between, like really fill in the blanks of the strategy in the way that makes the most sense for you to achieve that one goal. Now, I've started talking about this on my podcast a little bit more, that depending on what your long-term vision is for your business, if you're building to sell, if you're building to be in wholesale, if you're building for direct to consumer, my strategy that I would provide to you, my advice that I would provide to you is going to be very different. This is why all of my support that I offer my clients, all of the people that I work with, I have a one-on-one element to it because business growth is nuanced and your business support needs to be nuanced as well. Your strategy needs to be nuanced. Your plan needs to be nuanced based on what your long-term vision is, what your goals are. Because a client that wants to just scale to $1 million direct to consumer versus somebody that wants to be in stores globally is going to have different objectives that they need to hit before they can achieve those things. So your growth story is going to look different. So this client came to me. She says, Maddie, I'm not making much sales. I'm feeling like I'm doing a ton of things, but nothing is really working. I feel like nothing works better than the next. I've tried everything that I've seen out there. How do I know what to do next? I feel like I'm at such a loss. And what my answer to that question is we need to get strategized, and then we need to sink into the boring, monotonous element that compounding action really is. Because my clients will say this after we kind of work through all of these pieces and, they have new strategies and they're implementing new content ideas. They have their marketing and their sales funnels kind of set up. We have things on autopilot. We have things automated. We have systems. A lot of times my clients experience this moment of feeling bored in their business. They're like, Maddie, I need something. They mistake that boredom for something either not working, but it's really just that they know exactly what to do at this point. They're confident in their strategy and they feel like they have to do something else. But what they really have to do is just keep doing what they're doing and get really, really good at it. They now have a strategy. Some people are like, Maddie, I actually feel bad for how little I'm working. I'm like, yeah, it's because we've cut out the fluff of you feeling like you need to try everything. And we're saying, no, these are really the things that are going to help you move the needle. And this is how you really get there. You don't need more. You don't need to keep on trying more things. You need to know what matters to move and how to really do it. You need to know what is actually going to get you to the results that you're looking for as quickly as possible and know how to do it. So for the person that submitted this, they said they feel like they have 472 tabs open, all the time. They have all of these projects. They're doing everything, but they kind of just like do everything mediocrely well, and none of it's working better than the next. What's happening there is you're trying so many things that you actually can't be really good at any of them. So you haven't mastered your marketing. You haven't mastered your selling. You haven't mastered your pitches to PR. You haven't mastered your pitches to wholesale. You haven't mastered anything because you're just like, you tried a couple of times, then you give up on it. So this might be a little bit of a call out. And I say all of my call outs with absolute love. You are doing this because you are so unsure of yourself and your strategy and what you should do, because you don't actually have a solid strategy that you're confident in, that you are sure that if you execute it consistently for 3 to 6 months, that you will start to see that momentum building. The reason you constantly are grabbing at straws here is because you're just frantic, you're reactive, you're trying to frantically find something that works, as opposed to actually just going really deep and learning how to do it in 1 or 2 major ways. If you really look at many businesses, they mastered one thing in order to really see their big growth. Plenty of businesses, at the early onset of influencer marketing, they went all in on influencer marketing, and it was what blew their business up. Some people went all in on TikTok. That was what blew their business up. Normally, you can ask a founder that is now making, $5 million, $10 million, $50 million a year, and you can say, what was the one thing that you did that really got you momentum? And they have one major action that they got really good at. I've had people on my podcast say, I got really good at going viral on Instagram, and I did it over and over and over again. And now I have a framework. Now I know exactly what I need to post in order to get seen and to gain another 5,000 followers and make another $500 every single day if I really want to. So you have to find one major thing, 1 or 2 major ways for you to really sink in and get deep. The goal isn't to do everything. It's to master the things that are going to drive results for you based on your business, based on your industry, based on your goals, based on your product specifically. What strategy really means is that it's not just ideas or frequency, it's intentional action. So what it does is it takes out all of these maybe I should do's on your list. Like maybe I should try this, maybe I should try this, maybe I should do these other things, and says, no, I don't need to do those things because I know this is a strategy that absolutely could work for me with the intentional action and doing it over and over again. It's prioritizing the things that you know is going to actually bring a result for you. It's knowing what actions to take over and over, to compound and to finally see results and momentum, because what you're doing right now is you're quitting before the momentum can actually build. So people come to me all the time with this. They have 2 to 3 businesses started, or they're trying every method in the book. They tell me they've tried wholesale, but it doesn't work for them. They tell me that they've tried influencers, but it doesn't work for them. They tell me they try to sell online, but it doesn't work for them. But then I go and I look at their social and I'm like, wait, what are you doing? What have you really done for more than, 6 months? What have you really gone all in on and absolutely really mastered? And they say, I don't really feel like, I'm just doing a lot of things trying to see what sticks. I'm trying to see what works. And then I will stop and really sink into that one. But if you never actually go fully all in on something with actually having a strategy behind it, most of these people that are doing it don't actually have a strategy behind anything they're doing. They're just grasping at straws, which honestly is honorable. You're just being gritty and you're being scrappy and you're trying to figure it out. But there is a strategy to this. And the reason you're feeling this chaos, the reason you're feeling this shiny object syndrome is because you just don't know what you should be doing. So you're just trying to do everything and seeing if something really sticks. So when these people come to me to answer your question, what should I do? How do I know what to prioritize? Hey, I'm jumping in here for 30 quick seconds for those of you listening and thinking, all right, but how do I actually apply this to my business? Every week here, I share strategies, case studies, growth mistakes to avoid, but your business growth is nuanced. So your business support has to be nuanced as well. That's why all of my support includes me inside of your business, your ideas, your launches, your content, perfecting what you're already building and uncovering your hidden opportunities to scale. This isn't a cookie cutter course. It's a high level personalized support system to help you optimize your brand, your strategy, and every single person your business touches. If you want my eyes and my brain on your branding, your sales, your marketing, and your overall growth plan, click the link in the show notes to apply. Let's see what we can build together. When people come to me and they're feeling this way, you have so many tabs open in your brain, on your laptop, physically and metaphorically, tabs are open. What we have to do is we have to look at your business, look at your goals, and look at the current results of what you're getting. And basically what we have to do is we have to turn this chaos into focused, customized plans based on the data that you already have of what's already working, based on the goal that you're trying to achieve, and what does it actually take in order to get there, and based on the business you want to have and just your industry as a whole. Like if you're selling a CPG brand or like a food brand that's packaged, that type of industry has a very different growth framework than an industry that is selling handmade art, right? Like your business, your industry, all depends on what your growth plan really looks like. So what we have to do is we look at your business, we look at your goals, we look at your current results, and we try to see what can we double down on, what can we ixnay right away, and what are the strategy pieces that we know for other businesses like this that we can really sink in and really dive in on. And then we create a focused, basically customized plan for them based on all of those factors. And then we basically help them make sure every action has an ROI, because what you're doing right now is nothing has an ROI because you never actually get to the point of seeing the growth come back to you. And then you can confidently execute knowing it's leading to something good. This is where that boring, we're really sinking into the boring. I'm saying, all right, here's your 4 content pillars. This is what I want you to post on your feed. Like, pick up the amount of times you want to post on your feed. These are the 4 content types. I want you to post those different content types, play around with media, play around with topics, and really sink into those 4 content types on your feed. In 6 weeks, we'll analyze the data and we'll double down on what's working. On your stories, I want you to do these things. I want you to post these different types of stories, post these different types of content on your stories, and I want you to direct people to, your email list. On your email list, this is what we're trying to do. And then all you have to do, especially at the point of trying to kind of like figuring out your marketing and your sales. If you haven't yet gotten too many sales coming in, you're just feeling like you haven't really made that big growth, that big like made it moment, is because we haven't done something for long enough. And so then what we do is we have to just go out and execute. Once you have a strategy, once you have an intentional plan, you can cut through the noise because you're like deflecting all of these little, maybe I could do this, maybe I could do that, maybe I could do this other thing. Because then you get to tell yourself, I know that that's not going to work for me. I know that that's not in my plan. I know that that's not for a business like mine. Because again, blatant, like very general business advice out there is actually very detrimental. I recommend to actually put blinders on, listen to 1 or 2 people. Like don't try to take advice from 100 different people, because 100 different people are going to have 100 different strategies. You will see consistencies throughout everybody. I've interviewed plenty of people on my podcast and I'm like, we have so many consistencies here, but we still have slightly different actual executions. And when you're listening to so many people, you're reading all of the books, you're listening to all of the podcasts, you're getting 4% of everybody's strategy until you actually sink and go narrow and deep into really figuring some of that out. So I don't care if you're one person as me, you're here. I love you. I'm so happy you're a part of the podcast community. But what I'm telling you is you have to be careful with generic business advice and taking it all as it's something that was made for you, because a lot of nuances goes into overall business advice. Business can be boring, and that's okay. Business itself isn't boring. We always have 100 different things that we're doing. There's so many things that we could be doing, but it's really sinking into the strategy that you have in front of you and keeping going when it does. So if you're feeling like this, to Jane, the person that submitted this question, Jane, what I see for you is that I want you to really audit, and anybody else out there that's feeling like they really resonate with this, I want you to look at your actions in the last 6 months. What are all of the different things that you have tried? What are all of the different things that you have tested, that you have experimented with? Do you feel like you actually had a strategy when you started, you knew what you were trying to do with it, or had at least a little bit of a plan, deeper than just asking ChatGPT what to do? Do you feel like you actually executed enough to get full data for you to be able to refine your actions? Did you pitch to enough people? Did you post them enough times? Did you stay consistent for long enough? Did you reach out to enough influencers? Did you pitch enough wholesalers? Did you refine your one sheet in your wholesalers? Did you know what to do, or at least have a little bit of a plan of how you were going to do it, having some sort of strategy or intentional action? Did you actually do it for long enough and take enough rejection, take as much no's, or take as many, reels that flopped in order to really see? And then did you actually refine it when things didn't work, or did you just jump to the next thing? I always say if you're doing something with a strategy, a solid strategy for 3 to 6 months, you're actually staying consistent with it and you know that you're hitting all of the pieces and it's not working, then it's time to jump to something. So what I want you to do is I want you to pick one major objective that you are going to go all in on, whether that be TikTok, whether that be Instagram, whether that be wholesale, whether that be influencer marketing. And I want you to zero in on that. Find the strategy, figure out a solid plan of how to execute that thing, and not just frequency, not just, well, I'm going to reach out to 5 influencers a week, not just I'm going to post 10 times a day on TikTok. I want you to come up with a solid plan and then stick to it for 90 days. Because what I want you to see here is when you really put your all into something, the momentum that you can see really quickly. And this is something that I might be delusional, but I have always thought, and I've always been grateful that somehow my parents instilled this in me, and is I truly feel that there is nothing I cannot accomplish with enough hard work and the right information of how to really do it. And that's what I want you to get out of this today. There is nothing you cannot accomplish with enough hard work, consistency, and the proper information. Now, you need a strategy, you need a plan behind this. You also need to know that it's fit for a business like yours, or it's actually made for your long-term plan. And the next thing is that you have to stick to it. You have to stick to it. If I were to tell you, you needed to pitch to somebody 150 times, but on that 151st time that you pitch to somebody, you're going to get into target, or you're going to see the results happen. You would keep going to get to those marks. You would keep on going. If I were to tell you every 100 people that you reach out to try to have them be an influencer for your product, on the 100, they are going to respond. You're going to get a yes. You're going to say, wow, these people will take it as a gifted campaign. This is awesome. I love it. Then you would keep on going and you would look forward to all of those no's so you can get that one yes. That is what we're trying to do. We're trying to get you so comfortable with understanding that it is with compounding action of correct results that you actually start to see the momentum and the business growth come. So your shiny object syndrome is really putting a damper on your business growth because you're never actually able to master what you need to master in order to get to the momentum ever really coming. And so you'd feel like you're trying all of these things, but none of them ever really work. It's because you're giving up after you reach out to 5 people for wholesale. You're giving up after you try Instagram Reels for 2 weeks and they don't work. And then, I'm just going to give up and try something else and try a different strategy. It all comes from refinement. It all comes from looking at the data and testing and tweaking. I am literally testing something at all time, on every podcast, on every reel that I'm posting, on every Instagram story, on every time I check my analytics on my website. I'm tweaking different things on my emails so I can see what is working better and how can I consistently be improving on the monotonous actions that I'm doing. Now, when I say business is boring, I don't mean that it's like, boring. It's that it's monotonous and it's repetitive and we have to do it over and over again. If you are not sick of saying the same stuff on your Instagram, you're just not saying it enough. Like if you are not sick of being repetitive, you're honestly not being repetitive enough. It's okay for you to be repetitive. Your actions need to be repetitive. At this point in my business, I'm constantly doing new things, but like 10 to 20% of my time is spent on doing things that I am unsure of. And 80% of my time is spent on strategic, intentional action that I know is going to like bring through some results. Some of it, I'm like, let me just play with this. Let me see. I'll post on LinkedIn for a little while. I'll try some of these pieces, but 80% of it, because I know what works. I know if I post a certain podcast, I will get 10 inquiries. I know that if I post a certain thing on my Instagram story, it's going to really like hit home with my community because I've constantly tested enough. So now all I have to do is consistently execute, and then I can find ways to bring new growth measures in from there. So Jane, I hope that this was helpful for you. My feedback for you would be to look at your business, look at what you've been doing. First, audit your actions. How many things have you tried? Has there been any data that you kind of missed that something might be working? Did you really have a plan? Did you do it consistently enough? Pick one thing and stick to it for 90 days. If you want help with this, if you want me to come in and provide a strategic action plan, tell you exactly what to do, I have somebody starting this week that came to me with this exact problem. She has 3 businesses. She has a lot of different processes going on. She has a lot of different things going on. And she's like, how do I know what to prioritize? And I can't give you that answer until I look at your data, I look at your business, I look at your industry, and I look at your goals, because everybody is very different. So if you're interested in having me do that, I would love to do that for you. DM me growth. It's exactly what I do with all of my clients. Would love to give you a business audit and create a custom growth plan for you, for us to execute together and do that refinement pieces together. I hope you have a great day. I love you. I'm rooting for you. I'm in your corner always. I hope this was super helpful for you. I'll see you in the next episode. If you found today's episode helpful and are looking for more tangible ways to grow your business, make sure you are subscribed to the show. If you want to dive deeper into this topic more, click the link in the show notes and join our completely free podcast community, where we dive into every single podcast topic, as well as give some bonus support and free coaching calls. And finally, if you are interested in getting my eyes on your business to find your hidden opportunities to scale, apply to work with me one-on-one in the show notes or on our website. Remember, it's not enough to listen. Don't forget to implement too. I love ya. I'll see you in the next episode.